Terry's three. Johnny Walker matching up against control. His shot. Bruce score. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. First three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls on. And Arizona State wins it. Edward pulls off.
Daniels takes the shot for Kirby.
Welcome into Wednesday's edition of Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratanudo at Diablo00 on X, the artist that you know formerly, and I know formerly as Twitter. It's where you can find me, find the show, also on my IG, michael.caratanudo.5 on Instagram. And the YouTube channel, Pitchfork Lunchers, you know it if you've missed any shows, and this is now the 86th installment of Pitchfork Lunch. I told you we're still in the infancy stage, but we're getting rolling. If you've missed any episodes of Pitchfork Lunch, you can go to the YouTube channel, which is at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005. On YouTube, so at MVC005 on YouTube, and subscribe. We have met, again, a ton of great coaches. JJ Van Niel, the Pac-12 volleyball coach of the year in women's volleyball, pardon me, and he was the first coach to come on to get the Pitchfork Lunch mojo, as we call it. But also Willie Bloomquist, men's baseball coach, Graham Winkworth, women's soccer coach, Natasha Adair, women's head basketball coach, Charlie Regal, assistant head coach for football, special teams coordinator, Jason Mons as well. So, and players, the list goes on and on and on. Insiders, the voice of the Sun Devils, it is all there. Go to the YouTube channel and subscribe at MVC005 on YouTube. And get it all. Enjoy it all. Get it all. And it is there. But today we are going to start breaking down I'm going to start breaking down the men's hoops game against Washington. Also, hockey taking on Cornell. And it's just one game for the men this week. They just go up to Seattle, take on Washington. They're not because of, I guess, the off-balance schedule. They're not playing Washington State. Arizona's actually playing Washington State. But they will play Washington State in Tempe in a few weeks. So but they will be playing Washington twice as well. So again, standings wise, they are, as you know, they are up top at 4-0 with the Ducks. So that's definitely not a bad thing. Yeah, that is definitely not a bad thing. Being 4-0, like I said, talking about the standings the last few days. And they obviously looking to go 5-0 with a team that, as of right now, they just got their first Pac-12 win, did Washington. So 1-3, again, compared to the 4-0. But this is where, again, you make more of a case for your tournament life, especially when at a conference, wasn't bad. I mean, say what it was. It was average. I mean, they were 6-5. Now they're 10-5, which we definitely appreciate a lot in Sun Devil country, just due to the fact that just due to the fact that it wasn't looking like it could start like this, and now it's about maintaining it. So, but yeah, I'm going to play actually some of Coach Hurley a little bit later. It was from last week, but he talked a lot about it, and you'll get behind the mindset of it. So we'll hear from Coach Hurley in a little bit. And on the women's side, by the way, because I didn't give you the women in the Pac-12. In the Pac-12, standings wise, unfortunately, Arizona State is 0-3 in conference play, just lost to the number 5 and number 15 teams in the country, although Utah did drop to 19. And Colorado stayed. Well, I'll actually check the rankings. I want to be sure of this. But nonetheless, on the women's side, UCLA, number 2 team in the country, they're UCLA, who's number 2, Stanford, or Colorado's number 5, Stanford's number 8. Those 3 teams, all 3-0, only undefeated teams in conference play. Then we have the 2-1 teams, which is USC, Cal, Arizona, and Arizona. Then we have the 1-2 teams, which are Oregon State, Washington, and Utah. And they did lose at Arizona by 1. Arizona did hit a last-second shot to beat Utah. So that's so Utah, yeah, they did drop a few in the rankings because they lost to an unranked Arizona team, who's now 10-5 though as well. So yeah, Utah's 1-2, and then the 0-3 teams in the pack, that would be Washington State, Oregon, and Arizona State. But UCLA, again, number 2 in the country, 14-0 overall. Stanford is at 14-1. Colorado's 13-1. USC is 12-1, and then Utah is 11-4. Coming into this, so look, that is again, it is an uphill battle now for Coach Natasha Adair and her team, but when you got somebody like Jaylen Brown that drops 35, and yes, I will keep talking about it. She dropped 35 points, the highest point total of the century, which would be, since 2000, for the Devils. The program high is 44. She dropped in 35 and was just, I mean, again, a beast from the field. So if you haven't checked it out, check out the women's team. She's definitely worth the price of admission. They just got to figure out how not to have a bad quarter. Hockey, back-to-back class invitational champs, you could say, tournament champs. They won the Adirondack Invitational in Lake Placid, New York. Then they came home for their Desert Hockey Classic and won that. Forks up. Yes, let's go. But Coach Powers, again, doing a phenomenal job as the Devils get set to take on Cornell this weekend. And the 12th ranked. Is it 12th ranked? 12th ranked Sun Devils. Yeah. The 12th ranked Sun Devils were champions of the Desert Classic. Yes. They beat Omaha in the championship game 2-1 because Omaha had beat UMass Lowell. ASU had beaten Harvard, and that's how that matchup went. But yes, they are getting set to take on Cornell here at Mullet Arena, by the way. Don't want to forget that. Team 16-3-5 overall. Yeah. They are 13-2-3 at home. And their 2 home losses was to the number 2 ranked team in Denver, who they beat the first night 6-5 in overtime back in November. And then they lost on the Saturday night game. And then Providence, they beat 4-3 in overtime. And then on Friday night, and then that Sunday afternoon, Thanksgiving weekend, they lost to Providence 2-1. So they're right there. So yes, those are their 2 home losses. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. 2 home losses, 13-2-3, and then 3-1-2 on the road. And then there have been no neutral site games because, well, they just haven't. But now with Cornell coming up, and by the way, in the Adirondack Classic, they did see number 17 Cornell. It was a 2-2 tie, but in order to win it, and then it stayed that way through overtime, the Devils did get the shootout win to win the Adirondack Winter Invitational over Cornell. So now Cornell comes too. So again, just a little odd, or well, I shouldn't say odd, but just that you don't really see they'll see Alaska Anchorage later because they have like a home and home with Alaska Fairbanks February 9th and 10th, just kind of how this compares to Cornell. February 9th and 10th, they are taking on Alaska Fairbanks, and then there's a little bit of reprieve in there. And then February 23rd and 24th, they go up to Fairbanks to take on Alaska Fairbanks, and then they come back home to Tempe. They have Long Island University on March 1st and 2nd, and then they travel back up to Alaska to close out against Alaska Anchorage March 8th and 9th. And they played they had 2 wins over Alaska Anchorage already back in November, the 17th and 19th. So, but with Cornell, yes, they just saw him on December 30th. Now they'll see him on January 12th and 13th, again at Mullet Arena. It's again, it'll be another good test for him as, like I said, Cornell is the 17th. Well, when they played him, the 17th ranked team in the country. So, but look what Coach Powers is doing. If you've not been out to Mullet Arena, I don't know how else I can state it like I have. You're absolutely missing out. You're fully missing out, Sun Devil Nation. Yes, you are. You are missing out. So, I mean, get on out there this Friday and Saturday. There's no hoops in town. It's kind of mellow in Tempe. No hoops in town, but you can get out to see the hockey team play either Friday or Saturday. Also, I want to put this out there. I registered for Pat's Run yesterday. It is the 20th installment of Pat's Run, and I obviously shared it on my X at Diablo00. But yes, I am fundraising for it. So all the proceeds, of course, go to the Tillman Foundation. Got to give a shout out to my big sister, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. She has the first donation, and I definitely want to hit the goal. But it is Saturday, April 13th, 2024. So again, I registered and got in on the fundraising part early because, again, if you can give, absolutely awesome. But yes, it's all for the Tillman Foundation, and I have put an awesome goal. Wanted to reach higher this year. So $1,042. Yes, the 42. You know why? For a great man. And my sister is the first of the donators. So again, the race is April 13th. Have till then, and definitely want to hit the goal. So I will keep you all informed. But yes, I am doing Pat's run, the 4.2 mile run walk. I will jog it all, though. That is, of course, the goal, because as I do stuff, I like to get done with it quicker than possible. So, but yes, Saturday, April 13th, 2024, and I cannot wait for that. But yes, I am in Pat's run, so I will have the link and everything. But any questions, hit me up on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Diablo00. Send me a message, anything. But I will be participating in Pat's run, fundraising for it. So shout out to my big sister for the first donation. And yeah, so looking very, very forward to Pat's run. On that. So yeah, but that's what's going on. And there's a lot going on. And then, yeah, like I said, sports getting started. I mean, we're a month out from softball and baseball getting going. Track and field, like I said yesterday, released their schedule. Also, lacrosse will be going on. Water polo as well, women's water polo. Didn't mention that. My apologies. Shout out. Yes, women's water polo will be going on. And so, like I said, track and field, wrestling, baseball, softball, women's water polo, tennis, men's and women's tennis. How dare I forget that? And men's and women's golf. So, again, a ton to get to as the spring semester gets started up in Sun Devil Nation. But yes, there's a lot going on. So, when I get back, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to step aside real quick. But when we get back, we're going to hear from Bobby Hurley. And again, sound that I got earlier. And again, it was before the games last week. Didn't get to play it all. But it's definitely, you can, it's very relevant to how they are 4-0 right now. And, even asked back then what it would mean to start 4-0, but how they are 4-0 and going forward. So we'll step aside. When I get back, we will hear from Coach Hurley. And of course, you want to hear from Coach Hurley, 9th year Sun Devil coach, 151 wins now. The win against Utah was his 150th. And it was his 150th. And then the win against Colorado, 151st. So again, shout out to Coach Hurley. Again, getting it going, trying to go to the tournament back-to-back years. Would have been back-to-back the COVID season. I mean, that's just say what it was, and that is factual, not just like, somebody saying, we could have went to the tournament too. But, yes, so we'll step aside. Coach Hurley coming up. Don't go too far. We'll be right back here on Pitchfork Lunch. All right, we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch, Forks Up, Sun Devil Nation. I am Michael Caratinito at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Check out the show there, my IG, michael.caratinito.5, and subscribe to the YouTube at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005, at MVC005 on YouTube. But yeah, the men's basketball team, 10-5 overall, 7-0 at home. They are defending the home court. So even in non-conference, yes, the struggles, a little bit of struggles on neutral site, to say the least, a little bit of struggles on away, but taking care of the home court, which is, yes, I mean, you could say a third of the battle, but there's not too many neutral site stuff, but half the battle. So now they are in conference, obviously 2-0 on the road, 2-0 at home. And, you know, for Bobby Hurley, like I said, his 150th and 51st win as ASU's head coach. And I mean, they keep this up, and he could be just what they're 10-5. They're 10-5 now, and like I said, 7-0 at home. Technically 2-1 away. So I mean, on the road, I mean it's oh yeah, because that Dallas game, the game in against TCU, was technically a neutral site game, even though it was a much closer drive for the TCU fans, the team just in general, closer. But yes, so they are 1-4 in neutral site, 2-1 away, which the two wins would be at Stanford and at Cal. Pardon me, at Stanford and at Cal. So, but yeah, 10-5 right now. Let's see. $16 games left. So, I mean, if they were to go 16-0, that would be he'd have 167 wins before the Pac-12 tournament. But yes, I'm not saying so. At most, he could have that. But yes. So anyway, without further ado, like I promised you, here is Coach Bobby Hurley again from middle of last week. But I didn't get to play all of it. But yes, very, very relevant. And as he talks about, you know, obviously getting Adam Miller back, you know, Adam Miller in the lineup, saw what he did, but what he's been doing, and Sean Phillips Jr. So again, here is Coach Hurley.
So, Bobby, can you describe what that first team meeting was when you came back from Christmas break, you know, trying to break a 3-game losing streak? Is it a situation where there's not much needs to be said? Or really, there's still a message you want to drive that really led to the results last weekend?
Well, I mean, you kind of at a turning point where you got to make a decision. Are you going to start consistently playing together, playing as a team, sharing the ball, appreciating your teammates, being happy for your teammates when something good happens. There's a lot of things that go into becoming a team, and you know, we showed flashes of it at different times of different games when we were desperate in the non-conference, but you know, top to bottom, it wasn't what we were hoping for. It hasn't come together in that regard. It didn't. So we talked a lot. I mean, it wasn't a ton of basketball-related adjustments that were made. It was more, you know, just trying to get everybody to get on the same page about competing and playing for each other and playing the right way. And I thought we did that for Stanford, and for the most part, even though we got down in those games. I mean, Stanford is playing well right now, based on, you know, certainly their game with Arizona. So, you know, I thought we played pretty well. You know, we shot 47% in that game and played well defensively, very active late in the game, just, you know, with the steals and just finishing our opponent and just closing that game out was pretty special. And then, you know, we didn't play well at all at Cal, but I think we stayed together, we stayed in the fight, and we found a way to win.
In your experience, is playing together, accountability, all of those things you just mentioned, is that player driven? I mean, everything's your responsibility, but is that really more about the players, or is that something you can do to get them to do
Yeah, I mean, we're trying, and everybody has their own goals and things they want to do individually in the sport, and so when those thoughts collide with what's best for the team, that's where there's work to be done always. But I think we have recruited guys that are really good guys off the court, and have good character and have a drive and a will to win, and that's evidenced in multiple times where we've been at a really bad deficit and been able to scramble and figure out a way to win. So I think it's just a matter of getting these guys to sacrifice a little more of their own thoughts and kind of just gravitate more to a team concept.
What have you thought about the 4-guard lineups, how that's fared, and obviously there's trade-offs that you're making as part of that?
Yeah, I mean, some of it is out of necessity, just due to Sean's minute restriction right now, and Zane's injury, and we've had to figure out a way to play a little bit different. But I think when we went to that lineup versus Cal, it opened some doors for us on the offensive end. The spacing was a little bit better. The floor opened up for Frankie more, and with that lineup for that stretch, the ball was going in the basket. And I've had some smaller lineups in the past that have been very successful at times, but they've been with very small guards. Whereas this lineup, even though it is 5 guards, I mean, there's Frankie is a physical, athletic 6'2" point guard, and Adam is physical, and Jose. So I think for not long term, but in small doses, we could get away with it more and still not totally lose our identity on defense, because we just we can't rebound or we can't challenge shots the way we're capable of.
Do you feel like you're going to have to hit more of the better shots because of the offensive rebounding is not there?
Yeah, I mean, we have to get better on offense. There's no doubt about it. It feels great to be 2-0 in the conference, but the reality is the games are going to get more difficult, starting this week, and we can't afford to play like we did in the first half versus Cal and expect to have a legitimate chance of winning this week. So I'm hoping that there's some carryover from how we finished the game, and guys were hitting shots. Kamari Lance had a good weekend. Zoe again late in the game was very good offensively and defensively. Frankie obviously, and Adam, and got to get Jemiah going. And he's kind of a big piece, and I think he's like embodies what I think we could be if things come together, because I think our upside from where we are right now is pretty high, and a big part of that is Jemiah. So he had some good moments defensively, helped us win that game at Stanford, and just got to try and find a way to get him going at the offensive end a little more.
And speaking of the offense, I mean, how do you feel that, it's been a few games, but Frankie's done a good job of working Adam into the offense, making him feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, Adam is going to, I think, continue to improve. He's still, even though he practiced with the team, he still only has a couple of games under his belt, and he missed a lot of time. So, I think guys enjoy playing with Adam, and he's a guy that I really trust. I think he's a guy that will help us, more as we keep going, try and close the gap between where our defense is right now and what our offense needs to be.
You mentioned Kamari Lance, good weekend, shown this weekend. Where do you foresee him contributing more as 6-man role, or where do you foresee him just kind of as he progresses?
I just liked his approach, how he came back from the break, because we were all bad, the coaches, the players, everybody in the Northwestern game, but I just sensed a real frustration with him. I think I wouldn't say he bottomed out in that game, but I just saw it like a different guy when he came back after Christmas, and maybe you get to go home, you talk to your family, your friend, and then you find something. But he was really good in practice again, leading into those games, and just played more confidently. He shot the ball with confidence, and had a really key steal. He got in a gap versus Cal and got a rake steal. So he's doing things that we need him to do. So I'm happy that he's playing better. You can tell his whole disposition has changed.
With those injuries and the minute restrictions in the front court, how do you limit an elite big like Brandon Carlson?
Yeah, he's a tough guard because you know, he's very versatile, and you know, they move him around the floor quite a bit. You know, he's obviously a big-time shooter for a 7-footer, and got great length. So, you know, he can hurt you in a lot of different areas. I think he's a really underrated passer too. Just we got to be careful about you know, how we send doubles to him if we do, and making good decisions with regards to that. I thought that's what we did very well versus Cal. You know, late in the game, Frankie, guys were very active, getting into post defense and getting a deflection. Those are big time plays. We have to use our speed to combat, you know, their size.
Frankie's probably playing his best ball, which I think you kind of foreshadowed that was going to happen. But how do you now extract the maximum that you can from him when he's got that capability?
Yeah, I just you know, he's playing at a different level. He took it to a different level at Cal. Just the shot making, the attacking the basket, his instincts on defense were all, you know, just, you know, elite really in that game. So, you know, he's a playmaker. We needed him to be that guy, and it's the next progression for him. You know, I think we were all prepared to see him, you know, and that doesn't mean he's got to get 25, like, but, you know, he's going to get his teammates involved, you know, and I think he's a guy that can be that difference maker for us at both ends of the floor.
Your next win here will be your 150th at ASU. I think it would be the third coaching program history to reach that milestone. What would that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I think I would probably think about all the teams and all the good moments, and the NCAA tournament teams, and all the guys I coached, and just be grateful and thankful that I had the opportunity to coach those guys, and you know, and so yeah, I didn't realize that, but that's pretty cool.
You said there that you think that there's quite a bit of room for you to get better still.
Yeah.
What are some of the main areas of that?
I would say just getting Sean back and integrating him into what we're doing, and just keep expanding his role. I mean, you saw the blocks and the lob dunk, you know, at Stanford, and can bring kind of a different dimension to what we do. And then it's a constant process, and it's not easy for a lot of teams now with so much change, and you know, so to get these guys, you know, on the same page, playing well together. Got to get more guys playing well on offense. I still think there's a lot more that guys can do at that end of the floor to improve, because we're not there yet, you know, offensively, and I think our defense has been really good, though. Was really good the last 2 games.
You mentioned Meeks earlier. Is there any update on where he's at?
No, I'm going to say probably indefinitely now, because there hasn't been any signs that we're going to see him back, and I haven't had a conversation with our trainer, our medical staff, that would lead me to believe that, you know, he's going to get back soon. So if something changes, then I'll certainly make sure I let everybody know on that.
Bryson Long, what's the prognosis on him?
Yeah, Bryson's got like a medical issue right now that I don't want to go into great detail with, just because, you know, if he wants to discuss it, I think that I'm going to leave that opportunity for him to talk about it. But you know, he won't play this weekend, but there's a chance that if things progress the right way through this weekend, that he might be able to play at Washington. But you know, we're going to make sure we check all the boxes, and just feel it was great just to see him before we hit the road to go play Stanford and Cal. So we're looking forward to get Bryson back.
Talk about Frankie's progression. What do you think he's gotten the best at, or what has changed or progressed the most since he's transferred in, or even since the end of last season?
I just saw his maturity, his confidence growing, his trust in the work he's put in to get better. And he's, you know, he needed to improve his shot. I think he attacked that this offseason. His shot has been better. It's been more consistent. He trusts it. And when a guy like him is making shots, he's a handful because of, you know, just how good he is off the bounce and attacking the paint. So, and then his leadership is there, man. He's got what I look for in terms of wanting to win and having a will to win. Like, he was, you know, he wouldn't let us lose in that game. Like, he was stealing the ball. He was making clutch shots. He was communicating with his teammates. You could almost feel his passion for playing and passion for trying to win that game. So at that position, it's like the quarterback or whatever. I mean, you got that guy's got to be a tough guy, and he's got to want to win. If you have a selfish point guard that doesn't care about winning, you got no shot.
And as a coach who has won, how gratifying is it to see that more in players?
I just, you know, I love the kid, and I think I think the world of the kid, and I'm happy for him that he's having success, and you know, he's just getting better and better. So it is rewarding at that position. Is one that I've, you know, take pride in, and knowing that I played it. So I hope I can figure it out now.
Stats don't matter. Stats don't matter when you win. But when you read the assist to turnover ratio recently, what do you see?
Well, I think we all felt helpless in that first half. Like, that's the word I would describe it. It was one of those games where, you know, I watched it again. We got some pretty good looks, like on-ball movement, and the ball just didn't go in. I think if you stick to that script and you don't get off that script, then, you know, hopefully, like, it's a two-way street, right? I mean, if someone makes the best pass in the world, if the guy doesn't shoot it and make it, then you can't get an assist. So I think some of it came down to that, but yeah, also with Cal, you know, we wanted to get them in a lot of ball screen, and Frankie was able to really start attacking the paint, especially in that second half. So it didn't really require an assist in that moment.
And Coach, when you talk about the offense too, I know you've been talking about this in the beginning of the year, but I mean, the free throw shooting this last weekend, I mean, it did get better, but is that kind of, do you feel, I mean, having been in the position, it kind of goes hand in hand? I mean, you get to the basket, you get fouled, you see more free throws dropping and more shots start to drop. Is there, that you feel there's a correlation there?
I think, yeah, I think we took a step in the right direction there over these two games to make you know, to shoot better percentages, and that was certainly something that we've been discussing with the guys. And we've been, you know, Coach Kimbrough came up with a new free throw shooting drill that we've been working on at the end of practice. So there's things you could try and do to work on that stuff. But I think that we're better shooters, you know, than we've shown this year. Our numbers are what they are, but I think we have a chance, an upside to improve in those areas.
Coach, although Jemiah's shots may have not been falling like this past weekend, yeah, that key block at the end of the game against Stanford, how do you feel that he's mentally matured to make plays outside of just scoring?
Yeah, his defense was clutch, and you can't hang your hat on only making a shot. And so I know that he's got the athleticism and the instincts, you know, to make those type of plays. Huge deflection, like 2 possessions earlier before the block too. So he made 2 huge defensive plays to get stops and help close that game out. So yeah, I'm happy that he's, you know, not putting his head down and saying, I'm struggling to shoot it, so I'm not going to give effort at the other end. He's really, you know, playing well at that end of the floor. And I think it's going to come for him. I don't know when, but I do know that he has it inside of him to make shots and have more of an impact at the offensive end, and that'll help our team take it to a different level.
Jose's kind of struggling a little bit with his shot too, but again, kind of like Jemiah, he had to play where he dove for the loose ball and kind of trying to. Has his role changed a little bit with Miller coming in, and it seems like maybe his role has changed a little bit, or he's not quite fitting in there? Or?
No, I think he'll be fine. My advice to him is to, you know, I think a couple of times he put his head down and try to really drive into an area that, you know, wasn't really space. You know, trust your 15, 17 footer. He doesn't love to shoot the 3. That's not part of it. But I mean, he can take 1 or 2 a game. But you know, trust the mid-range. I mean, I've seen him, you know, make a lot of mid-range shots in the film as we watched prior to him coming here. So I know that that's something that he hasn't really shown that I think he can do. You know, he was kind of fighting through a finger injury that he got very early, so I think that is kind of, he's got that behind him now, so maybe he'll add that to his game. But yeah, when he dove for the ball, that's what it was all about for me. Like, one player tries to bend over and pick it up, the other guy just dives for it. And if you guys didn't ask me about him, I was going to say this before I left. But those are the types of plays. That's who our identity needs to be if we're going to be good moving forward. Like, Jose Perez laying out on the floor to get a loose ball, and the other player bending over trying to pick it up.
The multi-time transfer ruling, obviously, was beneficial for Adam, but looking at it big picture, how does that affect the way you construct a roster moving forward?
I mean, it's gonna, I don't know, I would imagine the floodgates are open. I don't know how you go back from this. I haven't heard anything specific yet, but it's gonna be, every year, it's gonna be year to year. You know, it's gonna be even, you know, more. I mean, we had 3 guys come back, like Utah, good for them, man. They kept a core nucleus of good players that they're bringing on. They brought Carlson back. They brought Madsen back. The point guard back. They brought all these guys back that now they're having, you know, a great season. So being able to retain guys is going to be critical, you know, moving forward if you can. And it's just it's going to be very resource driven if that's going to be the case.
Do you feel like in that respect that the job of the head coach becomes fundraiser as much as anything else?
I'm sure, as Kenny discussed right after the season ended, that was his #1 priority, and it's no different for me. I mean, we have to find creative ways to encourage those to invest on the front end with the thought that the results will be there on the back end. So we're still behind, but we still have people trying, and I think there's, you know, I know in my sport, you know, you could turn this around. You know, there's only 13 guys, and I'm going to play like 7 or 8. So, you know, if you do have enough resources, you can put together a team, you know, pretty quickly that can be very competitive.
Seems like going into the Big 12, especially, that's just monumentally important.
Yes, it's the most, for this program, it is the most important thing. Forget about DFA, and I would love for it to be better for our fans and stuff down the road. That's a dream, you know, to have a facility that you know, a new, you know, beautiful facility. But #1 on the list is fundraising and convincing people to donate to NIL.
And you said turn it around quickly. You said obviously Utah keeping that core together. I mean, is it almost, I mean, even in the recruiting process, tougher because you're out recruiting, but do you feel that there's a big like re-recruiting of your players, you know, whether in season or right after the season as well?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to their experience. Hopefully their player experience is great. Hopefully, you know, you have someone like Frankie that, you know, keeps getting better, and he sees that and he's taking steps. But it's going to come down to the resources most, and the relationships matter, and the player experience matters. But that's certainly going to be #1 in most cases. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
And you heard it right there. Bobby Hurley and Chris Cartman, friend of the program, asked him that question about, you know, and what coach he's saying, Kenny, but Coach Dillingham talking about, you know, fundraising with NIL. Look, I get it. I mean, the NFL changed their thing, changed their structure because a lot of guys that were vets, and of course, even if they were quarterbacks, but, you know, non-quarterbacks and vets talking about you know, a rookie quarterback coming in, these top 5 picks coming in, and the guaranteed money they're getting, they haven't proven a thing. And I mean, yes, with NIL, yes, they can do what Caleb Williams did. They can sign, you know, national endorsement deals. I mean, Caleb Williams from USC with Wendy's. And also like Wendy's, and I mean, the Dr. Pepper. Caleb Williams did that. So yes, you can use your name, image, and likeness. And yes, if you're at bigger schools, but with the NIL, I mean, and collectives, basically, yeah, you know, a player you could agree upon a quote unquote, you know, salary, how much they would be getting. And I think for just a lot of people in and of itself, like you said, yes, guys played college football, they're going to the NFL, but they're guaranteed this money and they haven't proven it. They haven't taken a snap, haven't done a damn thing. So from the NFL standpoint, professional standpoint, I mean, that's tough for obviously a lot of vets to swallow in that area. But for college wise, you know, and if you remember, like, you know, Shaq's movie with Penny Hardaway with Blue Chips, and, you know, I mean, yes, it's a movie, but you think back and people, you know, people always will say, oh, don't tell me people weren't, giving these players money. And then you see the FBI investigation that inevitably cost, Sean Miller his job in Arizona, the pendulum, the pendulum falling there. But I mean, Rick Pitino as well. But I mean, Bill Self kind of came out of it unscathed with a lifetime 5-year deal at Kansas. And, with, coaches don't know, and assistants, and, you have, and if you've seen Air, which if you haven't seen Air, which is how, the movie Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, how Michael Jordan ended up at Nike and the story behind it. And, I knew some of it, but as the movie came out, the more the more you saw, it's like, oh, wow. But that was groundbreaking in and of itself. But when you see Air and think, shoes and, high school and, you're supplying for, it's like, oh, hey, it's a gift, and you're out talking to him. And I'm not spoiling the whole movie for you, but Matt Damon's character, Sonny, he, again, going to high school tournaments, giving them Nike hoop shoes and say, hey, don't forget about us when. So, but then you see, what it became, and, players out there, agents and stuff, and people seeing, and shoe companies. I mean, the big money. So yeah, it was hard for people to say, and it's not about everybody just being, cynical, right? Yeah, it's not just, everybody's, but yeah, for anybody that gets it, like, don't tell me money wasn't going around. It's a big recruit. I mean, if you saw, rewind even more, the 30 for 30, the Pony Express, when SMU got the death penalty. I mean, they were not the only school doing it. They just got, and it's not that other schools aimed for them to, because then they would have to release a lot of their stuff. So let's get that out there too. But when SMU got the death penalty in football, that was one of those things where, yeah, I mean, you're, boosters and giving money and cars and just the madness of it. But people that were cynical are saying, yeah, like, these top recruits aren't getting money now that they can. But my theory is, like, like Coach Hurley's saying, like, yes, you need to have the resources, and yes, more so in the transfer portal, because if somebody's going to transfer and they're like, well, I can get more here. Yes, I am doing this. I am at this level. I'm going to play like this. But that's why I even asked Coach Dillingham about, like, motivations. And yes, they're good at what they do. They became good at what they do, and keep, at a higher level, and in recruiting and getting to know kids, talking to their, high school coaches and friends and parents. I mean, you see it, like, which, coaches and, coaches have done for, 1,000 years, one of those things where, yeah, you're going to talk to other people. You're going to see how they are. Yes, you're going to talk to their teachers. You're going to see, yes, their coach and how they are, and be around them and their family. Like, that part, yes. But I mean, for a kid coming in that's in high school, it's like, if you're demanding this, it's like, you haven't proven a thing. Like, to me, if I'm a coach, like, that's the point. Like, in your recruiting, like, you have to, like, do they want to compete? Do they have that, fire in them? And Chris and I, touched on that last week about, NFL, when a guy, when, in football, if when a player gets their bag, are they the same? Not that they don't have the drive, because obviously they do. They got there and they earned it. But how do you see things? How do they view it? And that, to me, is the fine line. Now, transfer portal wise, and you're saying, okay, like, we have this, we can give you this. If a player's just, like, causing a bidding war, I mean, can he help your team? Yes. Is it going to rub a lot of coaches? Could it rub a lot of coaches the wrong way? So, I mean, there has to be that balance and that that line. But yeah, I mean, with NIL and getting paid, and like I said, that'll be a show for another time, as we're getting towards the end here. That'll be a show for another time. I'm working on and reaching out to, and the funny thing is, like, reaching out to coaches and stuff like that. But I was going to say this: the funny thing is, like in this transfer portal era, like you have a new team, successful junior college coaches, and not just because I covered the NJCAA for years, and yes, with football, but all sports, but the most successful coaches, like every people can say it almost every year, but a lot of times, like every 2 years, they definitely had a very new team, like a very new team, like boom, boom, they're gone, like it's JUCO, it's 2 years, so it's that's funny to me because like they would be apt from that point adapting to a new team, the ones that have had success, and there are a ton of junior college programs. Oh, well, I won't say, but like programs, but I mean like different sports, like from different areas. And there's coaches that have won a ton and that were very, very good at what they did. And I'm gonna get him on this show. Joe Kersing. Also, I'm gonna get Sun Devil Hall of Fame inductee Regina Mannix, who's been coaching volleyball at SEC, Scottsdale Community College for years, and Lisa Stuck and Amanda Burbridge. They are coming. They're coming in the spring because I am going to get them on. Been playing phone tag, but this is going to happen. But in talking to that, like the transition, yes, I mean now you're a responsible overall program for the same things, but on a bigger, obviously on a bigger level, because you're aiming to keep them in other sports for 4 years. I mean, basketball, they can be one and done. We know that. 2 and done. I mean, they definitely one and done, but maybe they need a second year, and they play a second year either way. But with football, like, yes, you're hoping to keep them for 4 years. Volleyball, you're hoping to keep them for 4 years, recruit them and you see it. But yeah, I mean, transfer portals open up and, you see how it is. And yes, it is different for each sport. And I'm just saying that the way they made the NIL, the way it is, like, it had to be that way because you couldn't just pay big sports. It would be called the Title IX lawsuit, and not just, I mean, and on smaller sports on the men's side and or women's side, but they'd get into it. So then if you did it that way, they were actually wise enough to think, okay, that, but again, there's so many to it. But from Bobby Hurley's standpoint, yes, if you don't have the resources and you're behind in that to me right now, it affects you more in the transfer portal. Because again, a high school kid coming in, like if you're one and done, and that's why I said to Chris last week, like John Calipari, like one and done. It's like, and he wasn't like the first to do it. I mean, other schools players were doing it once they changed it. Like you have to go for a year. Well, like you're forcing them to go for a year. And if they're ready to go, they should be able to go. Now they changed, the G League. Some kids were going over to, some kids were going over to Europe playing for a year, and then they were in the draft. So, but for the transfer portal, if you don't have resources and funds, I'm not saying it has to be ridiculous. It's not going to be like an NBA contract, because I'm sorry, nobody in college is worth that. Like you're transferring, because that's I think the balance for the coaches. Like if you're okay, yes, you figure you might be able to make more money, but if you're that good, you're going to be making that money in the NBA. You'd much rather get there. So yes, there is the balance of that. But like Coach Hurley said, if you're behind it right now, it's more affecting the transfer portal. As we go along with it, it is the Wild West. And that's why I said it to Chris. It is the Wild West because, whether family, another player talks to a player and this and that, I mean, that's not really tampering. You can have friends, but, whether programs reach out to, parents or a high school coach of a kid that's at another program, and it definitely leads to another Pandora's box. But, like Coach Hurley said, with the floodgates of the multiple transfer rule. I mean, to me, if I'm a coach, I mean, there's a lot of lines there, but we'll get to that more. But yeah, that was Coach Hurley again from right before Utah and Colorado, another 4-0. But you heard him talk about Jose Perez. I've talked about Jose Perez a lot. And the one thing I do know is the physicality. And Adam Miller talked about a post game after Colorado, is how he goes, it's not that it's funny. He goes, you see Jose Perez just backing down a 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guy, and he's just backing him down, looking to create shots for other guys, or get in there and take that shot. So that is absolutely huge. But yeah, taking on UW, I want to get to that. I was going to say, Washington, this is a team that's averaging 81.7 points per game and only giving up 75.7. So again, but they are 9-6 overall, 1-3 in conference play. Yeah, they're shooting 72% from the free throw line. Their opponents are shooting 66.3 against them. So, but again, that's why I asked Coach that. Like, yes, you see a ball go through the hoop, a guy's jump shot isn't falling. I've heard coaches forever talk about, hey, you don't want your player to lose the confidence, but hey, get to the basket. Get to the basket, get that layup, see the ball go in. You draw a foul, see the ball go through the hoop, and then all of a sudden, especially the talent level. Again, why they're there, but all of a sudden more shots start falling. And look, with Adam Miller, what he's doing, how he's able to open up the floor. Sean Phillips Jr., again, the minutes restriction, but the more he goes on, obviously the more he'll be able to play. Got in a little bit of foul trouble, ticky-tack foul trouble. I'm not even going to get into that against CU, which was frustrating as all heck. But yeah, I mean, and for Washington, we'll get into a little bit more tomorrow, but Keon Brooks Jr. is their leading scorer. This young man is averaging 20.5 points per game and 7.4 rebounds per game. So yeah, he's he's one they definitely have to look out for. And then, I mean, they have 4 guys averaging double digits. So like I said, Keon Brooks Jr. is at 20.5. Shavir Wheeler is averaging 15.2 points per game. And then Moses Wood at 10.9 and Corin Johnson at 10.5 for the Huskies. But yeah, Keon Brooks Jr., leading scorer, 20.5, and rebounder, like I said, at 7.4 per game. So, they're averaging, and it's pretty much even in rebounds. I mean, ASU again, but you have to crash that glass. And we know the guys have been. So, but yeah, Washington as a team is 72% free throw shooting team. I mean, Brooks Jr., he's at 77%. Well, Anthony Holland, who has played a total of 157 minutes, he is 4 for 4. He is shooting perfect from the free throw line. But yeah, Keon Brooks Jr., like I said, 77.1%. Moses Wood. Wow. This young man, I mean, he's only had 23 attempts on the year, but he's 21-23. He's shooting 91.3% from the field. So, yeah, don't want to put Moses Wood on the free throw line. I mean, he started all 15 games for the Huskies, as has Keon Brooks Jr. And then Paul Mulcahy for the Huskies. He's played in 14 games and started 14. He's a 75% free throw shooter. But again, you really don't want to put Moses Wood on the line. 91.3%, but Keon Brooks Jr. almost at 80%. So, but yeah, I mean, that's where these games, especially the further you get into conference play, kids, and I know you know this, but the further you get into conference play, I mean, the free throws are what's gonna save you. So that being said, that's that. So it'll be interesting with the Huskies. I'll dive a little bit more into tomorrow. I just want to get Coach Hurley's sound out there, because again, I didn't get to play it all when we had Chris on. But again, a lot to digest there from Pitchfork Lunch. See, But no, a lot to digest because think about it. I mean, the NIL collectives and stuff, and yeah, they can get endorsement deals, but NIL wasn't just about endorsement deals. It's literally boosters can donate, and it's just I think it has a whole ratchet to recruiting. Another ratchet, and I've kind of talked to Coach Regal. I want to get Coach Regal back on too to talk about that because we started to touch on that. So again, we'll get to it. A lot to get to, but hey, everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday. Again, don't forget. Don't forget that men's hoops again tomorrow. That is a 9 p.m. game, and I'll remind you again tomorrow on FS1 if you watch on TV. Although if you're in the Seattle area and you're checking this out, which I hope you are, well, I know you should be, but yeah, you're in the Seattle area, you're Sun Devil, get on up to the game and enjoy your 10-5 Sun Devils. Get them to 5-0. Yes, 5 is a phenomenal number. Just, throwing that out there. My opinion, but nonetheless, yeah, so they're at Washington, and then the women, again, they're headed up to the Pacific Northwest, but they're headed to Oregon, and they will take on the Ducks in Eugene on Friday. That's at 8:00 here. And it's on Pac-12 Oregon, and it'll be on KDUS AM 1060 as well. You can listen. And then Sunday, they take on Oregon State at 1:00 here, which is noon up in Coral Vallis. And it'll be on Pac-12 Arizona and again on KDUS AM 1060. Jeff Munn will be on the call. Got to get Jeff Munn on, man. He's seen a lot. And he worked with Todd Turnthorne, working with Coach Adair. He has been around Sun Devil sports, so we are going to get Jeff Munn on too. That is definitely going to happen at some point. So yeah, that's what the women are at. We'll talk more about that and get into it a little bit more tomorrow as well. And then, like I said, hockey, Cornell, Friday and Saturday. So I am going to get out of here. But again, so glad you could join me for part of your lunch hour here on Pitchfork Lunch, because that's what we do. But have a great rest of your Wednesday. And by the way, to those of you that play fantasy football, that won your championships, congratulations. If you were like me and some players blew up and points wise, you cost yourself a little bit this year, frustration. But hey, that's the fun of fantasy football. Whoever won those, congratulations. NFL playoffs start this week, and there are a few Sun Devils in the playoffs, but we'll get to that too this weekend. So nonetheless, have a great rest of your Wednesday. And I will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. And yes, it's Sun Devil Nation. Support the Devils. Get on out there. And as always, forks up.
Terry's three. Johnny Walker. Ashing up against control. His shot. Bruce score. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls on. And Arizona State wins it. Edward pulls off. And buries the puck. Daniels takes his shot.